What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Gameball. I'm your host, Matson Montilla. Today, we're talking about the Clemson North Carolina State game. That saw North Carolina State become the victors after a last-second shot was made by DJ Horn to propel them to a one-point victory. I have a few takeaways from this game, a few players to watch, and just a message to Clemson fans in general. And let's start out with that message. A lot of fans are really annoyed with Clemson losing this game, saying they can't close out games. Same old Clemson, reeling me back in and then losing a game and making me realize they can't make a run. And I want to say I understand where you're coming from, Clemson fans, but truthfully, I don't. And my statement to you is if you want to get off the train right now, by all means do it. But when they win out the regular season and they have a deep March Madness run, please don't try and get back on it because your ticket is expired. If you look at every great boxer of all time, they've all gotten hit in the face, right? But what makes them so great? They take the punch, they become better, and then they win the match. And that's exactly what's going on with this Clemson team. They had a huge first round, beating UNC, Miami, and Syracuse, ultimately punching their ticket to March Madness. They entered the second round thinking, hey, we got this, and they got hit in the face by a rival, a team that needs to win this game to have a chance at March Madness, a team that was embarrassed by Clemson 3 times last season, getting blown out every time they faced Clemson. And it happens. And what makes a great boxer great? They take that hit to the face, they come back round 3, they knock out the opponent, and they win the match. And that's exactly what Clemson is going to do. They're going to win out this regular season, finish it strong, 6-0, and they're going to be a top opponent in March Madness this season. So if you aren't willing to stay through this little bit of bump, through what seemed to be a disappointing loss, please don't, because Clemson fans don't want you, the team probably doesn't want you, nor do they need you. And this is why it's okay to get punched in the face. Clemson's going to be able to learn a lot from this second round, right? They learned 2 huge things, and they've also did something that they need to continue to do, which will help them become even better. So the first thing they need to learn from is how do they handle a mismatch? DJ Burns, let's be honest, he's a mismatch issue. He's stronger than anybody they've ever faced. He's just a demanding force that you're not used to going against. He's not your typical 6'10 power forward / center who he's just stronger than everybody. And he outdid Clemson. Shefflin struggled inside, offensively and defensively, scoring 1 basket. PJ Hall struggled inside offensively and defensively, going 4 for 11. Not all-American numbers. And what do you see when you go to March Madness? Players that you usually don't see 95% of the time. They're probably going to have to face somebody who is 7 foot if they want to make it far, like a Zach Edey or a Zach Kalkbrenner. And you have to learn how to adapt to that. Clemson didn't know how to adapt to somebody who was a unusual big to go against because of his pure strength in DJ Burns. And it cost them. But understanding that you can't just go about your regular game plan against anybody will help Clemson realize, hey, this is what I need to do in the future match to adapt and become better because of it. It's going to allow Shefflin and Hall and Wiggins and Godfrey and Burnell to all come together and game plan and realize if we're going against a big that we're not used to, or another player, for example, if they're a guard that the guards aren't used to, we need to adjust. Play our brand of basketball, but adjust to stopping them the best. The second thing that happened to Clemson is a site that Clemson's had to deal with multiple times this season, but their success allowed them to put it in the trunk and forget about it, which is closing out games. They struggled to close out the game against Duke, leading them to lose the game. They struggled to close out this game against North Carolina State, causing them to lose. But when you have such great wins, you can lose a game or 2 and not have to change anything because they punched their ticket to March Madness, right? They struggled to close out the game against Virginia. And this game against North Carolina State, it's not going to be like, hey, we have to move on from this and realize like we just need to keep winning to make March Madness. No, you basically have a ticket, so now you can make the adjustments needed so that when you get to March Madness, you know how to close out a game. When DJ Burns fouled out with about, we'll say, 3 minutes to go in the game, that should have been all said and done for Clemson. but they struggled offensively. They seemed a bit flustered. They definitely struggled defensively. O'Connell had a great wide open layup, cutting off of Gerard. G.J. Horn had a good shot, a really good shot considering the situation and the time left in the game. And it propelled them to a win, right? So Clemson can go back to the drawing board and realize, hey, let's learn how to close out games now because we need to. And we don't need to stress about these other games coming up because they're going to win them, but they're not games that will determine their fate of whether or not they're going to March Madness. And my third takeaway from this game, which I think Clemson was going to learn a lot from because it was so successful, is they found a way to get off hot and set the tone in the second half. The first 4 minutes of the second half is the tone setter for the rest of the game. And Clemson came out firing. Entering the first media timeout, they were on a 15-4 run, getting stops defensively, getting baskets from around the field offensively. Jack Clark was scoring, Joe Girard was scoring. Everybody was scoring and having a huge impact. Something that Clemson wasn't good at doing the past 3 games. UNC, they closed the gap in a second to start the second half. Syracuse closed at the gap to start the second of the second half. And you look at Miami. Clemson scored offensively but couldn't get a stop defensively. Clemson culminated those two things, offense and defense, to end this Clemson, or to start the Clemson NC State second half. And it's going to be something that Clemson is going to realize we had success doing it. Let's find that continued success and set the tone in the second half, bringing our best brand of basketball. So yeah, the loss is tough, but it taught Clemson 3 valuable lessons. We need to change our game plan and adjust depending on who we're playing if they are a serious mismatch issue in terms of size and physicality. The second thing it taught them was they need to learn how to close out a game, right? It's definitely something they struggled with. Just learn to be composed, cool, collected, move the ball efficiently offensively, set up everybody correctly defensively. And the third thing that Clemson is going to learn from this is that setting the tone to start the second half is going to propel them to having a lot of success the remainder of the game. UNC, Syracuse, Miami. Large part of those games, it was very close because they couldn't set the tone and they kind of lost rhythm. The NC State game, they set the tone and they found a rhythm and they controlled the entire game until the last 2 minutes of the game. So if Clemson can learn from their mistakes and understand what they need to do, they're going to be a very tough out in March Madness and be one of the best teams entering the tournament. The other 2 things I want to address are 2 player shout-outs for Clemson. The first one is for Joe Girard III. The first 2/3 of the seasons were very up and down for him, right? Scoring 20 points and then 10. Scoring 21 points and then 9. He was struggling. He wasn't really in a rhythm. In the past 4 games, he finally has found a rhythm and is looking like the player that Clemson thought they were getting, which is a guy that can shoot from all over throughout the game and provide a huge boost offensively for the team. In the past 4 games, he scored 18 points or more. In the past 4 games, he shot 50% or more in 3 of the 4 games. Against North Carolina, 21 points, 5 for 10 from behind the arc, 50%. Against Syracuse, 18 points, 4 for 5 from behind the arc, 80%. Against Miami, 18 points, 3 for 11 from 3, 27%. Against North Carolina State, 23 points, 4 for 7 from behind the arc, 57%. He's found a rhythm and he's found a groove, and he's going to propel Clemson's offense to becoming something we've never really seen before, because Clemson is going to have a great mesh of a distributor in Chase Hunter, a great automatic, reliable shooter from all over the arc during any game in Joe Girard, and then obviously you have the masterclass of PJ Hall inside. So Girard has really found a rhythm and a groove, and I'm very excited to see how much better he's going to become now that he's found somewhat of a style and a rhythm with this Clemson team. The other player I want to shout out is RJ Godfrey. RJ Godfrey is unreal. He'll physically take the will to win out of you. He'll do whatever it takes to get the ball and to score. Offensively, defensively, loose ball, he's going to get it. And he had his best performance of the season against North Carolina State, scoring 10 points, 4 for 6 from the field, had a big and one. He dunked on somebody, had 6 rebounds, and was an anchor defensively, stopping DJ Burns every time he faced him and stopping whoever else he had to guard. He also did it very cleanly, not having a lot of fouls, playing over 20 minutes. And he's showing that he is just touching the tip of the iceberg, and he has so much more room for growth. And he provides a mismatch issue for any team because he is just that strong defensively. He was going to anchor it down and stop anybody going against him. And he is so strong offensively that he'll back you down and he'll just get an easy finish inside, no matter who you are. You double team him, you triple team him. He's getting a basket, right? He doesn't care what it takes. He's going to score. So keep an eye on RJ Godfrey. He's continuing to blossom and become an all-caliber player and will have a huge impact on this team the rest of the season. Thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to talking to you again.